I'm with Bob Brocklebank, who follows what's happening in City Hall very closely. Bob, here we are, April 22nd. What's the issue on public transport for Ottawa?
Well, I guess the big issue is City Council is about to consider next month, at the end of next month, whether to spend as much as $4 billion to, among other things, build a tunnel under downtown. And they've been at this process for a while, and right at the moment is the time for the public to start expressing their opinion about the transit ideas that Council has hatched. You may remember in the past we used to have this idea of building a light rail line that went from Barhaven sort of in an S and then into downtown. Mm-hmm. And then with the election of Mayor O'Brien and the change, that was abandoned, and now we're talking about the idea of building a tunnel under downtown. They had 4 ideas. One idea was to build a tunnel for buses, one for buses and light rail, one for light rail, and one for not only build a tunnel under downtown but also electrify and expand the present O train. And that's the proposal that Council seems to be moving toward.
This latter one is a decision they have to make.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so right at the moment, people all across the city are trying to understand how this affects them. And obviously it's going to affect them in the pocketbook somewhere or the other, because we're going to have to pay for this. But the issue really is this the right decision for Ottawa?
What should we, as citizens of Ottawa, what should we think about this? Should we be happy that if the government, municipal government, decides to go ahead with this project, or should we be worried? What should we think about it?
Well, personally, there's an aspect in which I'm very happy, because it's an indication that Ottawa at last is growing up and shedding its beliefs of the past, that this is some sort of small town in the Ottawa Valley. We are facing up to the fact that we are a real city.
So we should go ahead and spend $4 billion?
Well, we should certainly go ahead and start thinking more seriously about how we're going to have our city grow and how we're going to provide transportation. If you think about it, when Toronto built their subway, the first Yonge Street subway, probably the population of Toronto was certainly no more than the population of Ottawa. Mm-hmm. So it's not as though this is an unrealistic idea completely. There are lots of little details, though, that people need to worry about.
But Bob, we have to be concerned about whether we should be supporting our municipal government towards a decision on this specific project, or saying no, or put it off. I mean, what should we think on that specific decision coming up?
Well, I think we should generally be supportive, but
okay.
Cautious about a lot of the details. The fact is we are dealing with the major transportation problem that we have, which is moving into and across downtown. Mm-hmm. But the problem is, having invested so much money there, what is the rest of the system going to look like? There are more and more people who live in, say, Orleans, who work in Barhaven, or people who really aren't trying to get to downtown, but trying to get to some other destination. One concern is putting all our eggs in one basket. If all our money is going into this project alone, are we going to be able to adequately serve these other requirements in the city?
But Bob, it almost sounds as if, from what you're saying, that we should say no when this decision comes up, because it doesn't take it. It's not the kind of proposal that takes into account these other factors you mentioned.
Well, I think we should probably say yes, but with reservation. That the idea of solving downtown transit problems is a major issue for the city. Mm-hmm. And we do need to find a solution, and the solution is not to run trains along the street. I never did believe that was the solution. So this idea of the tunnel, okay, that's a good idea.
Okay.
There are lots of people who are concerned, say in the West End, because they say, you're going to start running trains along the Western Parkway, and they don't like that idea. Well, that's one of the details that I think we have to talk about. There are lots of people who say, oh, I'm going to have to get off my bus and get on a train in order to get to my final destination. Yes, that's probably right. And in fact, that's what people in most cities have to do.
Sure.
If you think about it, how many people have door-to-door delivery in a large city like New York or Tokyo or London?
Mm-hmm.
Very few. Most of them have to make some sort of transfer, and it's time for people in Ottawa to realize that we've reached that stage.
Mm-hmm.
So, in general terms, I think it's good. The idea of moving ahead with a tunnel is a good idea, but at this moment we don't know where the tunnel would be, for example. We don't know a lot of details about exactly where it would end. There are ideas that people have talked about going all the way from Baseline to Blair with this system, but maybe that isn't the way it's going to evolve. One big concern I have is in choosing the option they did, the city has also said, oh, it's going to electrify and double track the present O train. I don't know how high a priority that needs to be. One of the reasons for having double tracks on a railway is that you then are not, you then can have a little variation in scheduling. If you have just one track, you have to be precisely on time because the trains must meet at specific places.
Okay.
So that was one of the reasons why you wanted to double track, because you wanted to have these trains running through the streets of Ottawa, and so you never knew exactly when they were going to show up. Well, when you separate them, maybe you don't need to do that.
With a tunnel, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one of the issues. Another issue is, if you look at the city's growth projections, and you talk about growth in population, growth in employment, and so on, one of the areas where employment is going to really grow is Gatineau. So we're going to have more and more of an issue about crossing the river. This transit solution does not really deal with that issue. And in this part of the city, where you have a lot of these STO buses coming across, there's a big problem about all these STO buses that are sitting on city streets idling or waiting to take their passengers back to Gatineau.
King Edward, yeah.
Yeah, and so I'm not really sure that they've thought through how they're going to deal with that.
Yeah.
But all the same,
Yeah.
I consider it a step forward.
Okay. So
No.
so what should we do, and what should citizens of Ottawa like you and I be doing?
Well, the big thing that I think people should do is speak up. And there's an opportunity to speak up in two ways. First, the city started last night on April the 21st. They started their first open house. There are open houses being held all across the city up until May 6th, I think it is. And during that same period of time, and for a period afterwards into mid-May, anybody can make comments by registering to make comments on the city website. That's ottawa.ca. Just go in and there's a transit icon. You can go in, register, and make your comments. And this is the point at which we can iron out a lot of these little details, details that bother people.
Yeah.
And I think it's understandable that it bothers them, and it gives us a chance to build a better whole solution.
Yeah, Bob, just in summing up, if somebody's registering their comments at public meetings or what are two or three of the points you would suggest that they consider making?
Well, I think that the ease of transfer from bus to train is one question.
Sure.
Just who wants to stand around in the cold in an Ottawa winter waiting for the train?
Yeah.
I think that the question of what should the priorities be, and for example, the people who are commuting from Canada to Barrhaven, or from who are commuting along Hunt Club, this isn't going to do anything for them. So it would be, people would register and say, okay, this is a plan, but what will it do for me?
For our area.
What will it do for me? I want to understand it.
Sure. Okay, Bob, that sounds terrific.
Okay.
Good. Thank you very much.
I hope you'll write in yourself.